Hi guys, happy Friday. Here we are on the fourth weekly Jessica's Lunch and Learn. We're waiting for Lance Tarhan, the senior mortgage broker from Loan Depot, to join here. He is going to talk about interest rates, refis, what it takes to get qualified as a buyer, how to prep for buying an apartment. We will go through all of those questions. If you have any other questions for us, don't hesitate to send them our way. Looks like we're waiting for him, so bear with me 1 minute. I am still quarantining on Long Island. We are in phase 2. Restaurants have opened up. You can have outdoor seating. Hair salons have opened up, so I am super excited to get a little trim today, in addition to having a nice meal outside, a little summer rosé. Okay, great. There's Lance. Let's wave at him and have him join in. Okay, Lance, you're there.
Hello. Hmm.
We just see some lines going through.
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay,
There
there
we go.
we are. Okay, you're now zoomed out. Want to zoom back in?
How's that?
Too much? A little back out?
A little back out?
The other way.
Yep.
It's too,
Hang on.
a little too much. Okay, perfect. Hi, Lance. How are you? Welcome to the fourth weekly Jessica's Lunch and Learn. Special
Thank you
guest.
so much for having me. I'm
No,
I'm I'm honored to be a part of it.
oh, I appreciate you taking the time and having your wealth of information part of my weekly chat. But Lunch and Learn, work from home, WFH. So I am Jessica Kaufman. I've been in real estate. I'm an associate broker for the past 11 years at Corcoran Group. Last year, have been miraculously stayed in mortgage brokering for 27 years. He formerly had a bakery wife. So Lance, tell us, how'd you get into the field of real estate? Why mortgages?
Well, when the time came for us to leave the bakery business after my son was born in 1992, I had a choice of either becoming a real estate agent with a friend of mine in Park Slope, or when I bought my house in '91, my loan officer who did my mortgage said, "You know what? I think you'd be good at this. If you ever, looking for a job, let me know." So I chose mortgages because when I realized that there were like 1,000 realtors between Flatbush Avenue and 9th Street in Brooklyn, I decided that that pool was a little full, but that mortgage, doing mortgages, I can do mortgages all over New York, all over New Jersey. So I went for mortgages.
That's amazing. How are you finding those rates? Speaking about mortgages for the past 3 months, where do you foresee that going?
Well, right now the rates are very, very low, and we're ever since the news about the spikes in some of the states, that kind of is forcing the rates down even a little bit lower. So right now we're hovering right around 3% in most cases, which is incredible. So refinances have been robust, and I'm kind of itching for the sales to start again because
I,
I think a lot of buyers.
yes, we've been at a pause since March, and I think everyone's itching to get back to work here. I know Long Island has been booming, the Hamptons especially New Jersey, Florida. I think New York City is always strong, will always be exciting for tourists, and the energy will come right back. We've got the best museums, the best restaurants, the best of the best. So, Lance, you were talking about size. Where are most people doing them? Are they focused in New York City, the suburbs, the boroughs, or outside of New York?
Well, I closed a couple of purchases right after we paused, or just before we paused, and those were both in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm working on stuff in New Paltz. I'm working on something in Connecticut. I got an inquiry about Vermont. So I have to agree with what I've been reading, that I think people are looking to get out of Dodge, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so it appears to be that there's going to be a lot of activity, outside the city at this point.
Well, I think I had a call from a client the other day. People are looking to stay in New York City, but they do want a weekend retreat. They do want a summer retreat where if something like this happens again, they can leave the city, have fresh air, have space to run around and enjoy. I have focused on Stamford, Connecticut, Westchester, Long Island. I think it's close enough to commute to New York City if you need to be there physically for work. So tell me, what have you been doing during quarantine?
Well, I've been working quite a bit. Since I don't have my 50-minute each-way commute, I'm spending more time actually working, it looks like. Spending a lot of time working on the house. You know, we had the garden to put together and things to waterproof and things like that. Taking a lot of walks with my wife. She's been making masks, so I've been wearing her masks, which are great.
Oh, wow.
And that's pretty much, you know, we're staying at home a lot. There's really nowhere to go. We've taken one drive since March. Went down to the Verrazano Bridge and checked out the water.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it's been walking around and taking care of, you know, I live in an 1890s wood frame row house in Brooklyn, so there's always something to take care of.
Right. How are you enjoying Brooklyn these days? Have you focused more on your neighborhood and what's around you and really taking a look as opposed to just your own home before?
We've been walking, like when we do our food shopping, we're shopping locally and usually walking distance. So we have a little cart that we take and we'll load up. Very few car trips to go food shopping. My wife started going to Whole Foods a couple of weeks ago. That requires the car.
Okay.
But for the most part, I'm getting like 3 months to the gallon in my car at the moment.
Exactly. So Abby, thanks for joining. Nika, thanks for joining. Do you guys have any questions for us in the meantime while we talk about different kinds of rates? Are people locking in fixed rates, variable rates? What do you think is the best thing?
Well, right now, for most people, the fixed rate is the way to go. There's a lot of volatility in the mortgage market, and a lot of the adjustables aren't adjustable yesterday, comparing it to a 30-year fix, and the rate was exactly the same. And so he said, "Oh, well, then why would I take an adjustable?" And I said, "That's what most people are deciding."
Right.
So if you can get a really low rate on a fixed rate for a long period of time, and not have to worry about your interest rate really moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
that's the optimal situation.
Got
You're not getting the swings that we used to get.
Got it. And where are most people getting financing? What price point? What neighborhoods have you found a lot of activity these past few months?
Well, I haven't had a lot of activity in Brooklyn lately, and that's usually most of my business is usually Brooklyn and Manhattan. I've been doing a lot of stuff up in Harlem, pre-approvals and stuff. I just had a call about a co-op, a distressed co-op on 110th Street. So that's actually northern Manhattan, but there hasn't been a lot going on right in the city itself, only because you guys have been shut down.
Right.
Which is unfortunate. Most of my stuff right now is, like I said, Vermont, New Paltz, that sort of thing. And not a lot of it is, like the Vermont one's a second home, but the New Paltz is a primary residence. So I'm not getting a lot of, and it's, to qualify for a second home, you got to qualify for what you already have and then what you want to get. So it's a little challenging. But in this day and age, when you can work from home, I think a lot of people are going to be, telecommuting from, greater distances.
How have you found working from home? Do you have your own space, your own room? How have you made it your own?
Well, I've always had an office at home. I usually work from home 1 day a week anyway. This is 1 day a week, like on steroids, obviously. So it's my own space, but it's, it's one room. I'm not outside. I do have a window, thank God. But I feel like work has invaded my sanctuary, my home sanctuary, if you will. I'm struggling maintaining a work-life balance. I need to not, consciously say, okay, I got to stop. I've done enough for today. time to move on to tomorrow. But I'm so service oriented that at one point my analytics was telling me you're working 63% of your working hours. You may want to make some adjustments.
Wow.
So I've been trying to do that.
Okay. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out they're working from home. What is work-life balance if your work is at home? How do you divide? Of course, if you need to take an hour for lunch, have a lot less commute time, what do you do with all that extra time? You know, I've had a lot of clients call me, Jessica, oh, we have a question. Is qualification becoming more strict with what's going on in the economy? Thanks, Nika, for the question. What do you think?
Well, what's really, really strict right now is employment verification. So we're like, if you're self-employed, some rules just went into effect that it's you really have to show that your business is still operating pretty much at 100% capacity.
And what
So
retaining the same employees, retaining the same revenue?
the revenue is the important part, revenue and income. So that being said, that all the other basic guidelines are still in place. The ratios that we abide by and stuff like that, and verifying funds and things like that. But right now, the most challenging thing is making, like, the self-employed is the most challenging. If you're a W-2 employee and you're still working from home, I have a closing today. The gentleman works for NYU Langone. Obviously, he's still working because Langone is still cranking. And so that wasn't an issue, but there are, I do have some clients where not that we're struggling, but we have to get additional documentation to verify that their business is still operating.
So what would that be? What kind of documentation would someone need to prove that?
Well, up until this last Monday, I just needed a letter from the CPA saying that the business is still operating virtually.
Right.
As of Monday, I now have to show a profit and loss statement.
Okay.
Year to date, that the income is still coming in, and then I have to show 2 months of business bank statements to verify those numbers. And so, and that's, although it may seem obvious, if you're on, say, a 30 or a 60-day billing cycle with your clients,
right? How do you prove that?
You're not seeing exactly what's going on at the time, so you don't always get the results that you're looking for. And I have to say that, like, I'm doing a loan right now for one of my neighbors, and they're trainers, and they're doing everything virtually, but it's not the same, if you know what I'm saying. So it's, in order to verify, that's something that I have to be very cognizant of when I'm bringing in a client right now who's self-employed.
Okay, that's fair. So how does someone prepare to buy an apartment? Let's say I call you up and I say, Lance, I would like to buy in the future. What do I need to prepare, and what do I need to know?
That's my favorite situation. I like to try to get to the clients as early as I can in the transaction.
Right.
A lot of times I come in as a first responder, someone's already in contract and may not have gotten the right information. But what I like to do with my clients is the first thing is a verbal conversation. And I will do an interview, income, money, where they want to be, what their goals are, and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
If they like what those numbers reveal, then I'll go to a pre-approval stage where, like the gentleman who's buying in Vermont, I just got his documents yesterday, tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements. I'll be pulling the credit soon. And so I'm going to have a full file on him where I can actually give him pre-approval letters specific to the offers he's going to be making on the properties that he's seeing.
Right.
And the earlier I can get to you, just as an example, a client called me. She says, I want to consolidate some debt. Her credit score was a little bit low. It was actually very low. We talked about how to fix that. So she came to me in April. I counseled her to get a 401k loan, pay down her credit cards. We waited 6 weeks. Her credit score went up 125 points.
Wow.
Her loan went. I brought in her loan just this last Monday. So the rate for her went from like mid to high 4s to high 3s because it's a cash out, it's a co-op. This stuff, and it can probably even be lower. I haven't looked at it today, but she's in process. We just ordered the appraisal.
That's exciting.
So if I can get to you early, and I can see what's going on. A client came to me recently. There was a $200,000 bank deposit from her mother in Singapore.
Wow.
And that's a big question mark for us. And I said, well, I have to source this back to Singapore. And of course, the documentation was difficult. And so we opted to wait the 60 days, 60 to 90 days, you got to wait. So I don't see that deposit. And then we can move forward with the mortgage. So
why do we have to wait 60 to 90 days?
Because we source large deposits, we're put in the position by the Patriot Act that we're actually out there looking for terrorist money.
Right.
I'm doing quotes. So any large deposits have to be sourced back. So if I can't document it, if your Uncle Joe digs up his treasure chest in his backyard and gives you cash and you put it in the bank, we can't source that, and that becomes an issue for mortgage financing.
Laundering either.
Well, money laundering is yes. These are things. So these are things that if I can catch it early, we know what we need to do.
Well, Lance, we have another great question. What about real estate agents? Is it harder for us to verify, or is it the same idea as someone with, like you mentioned earlier?
It's exactly the same as being self-employed. And what we tend to do is we average the last 2 years net income as long as it's the same or increasing year over year. And that's the income that we use. So if you're having a tremendous year this year, I can't necessarily use what you've done in 2020. I'm looking at 19 and 18. Mm-hmm. And that's how it works for self-employed. So for some realtors, actually I just closed one for a realtor, and she had some juice.
Oh, we lost you for a second.
Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So she qualified, but it was difficult. You know, it was. Her husband basically, I think, saved the day, but it is difficult. You need someone who knows how to look at the tax returns and how to figure that out.
Okay, great. Anything we should know about the rates, where we're going? Is it a good time to buy and lock in now? What do you think?
I think that whenever you're ready to buy is a good time to buy.
That's what I.
It's the truth, though, because 99% of buying is the mental readiness, mm-hmm. and the other 50% is, finding the place.
Right.
I know the math is off. I'm kind of paraphrasing Yogi Berra a little bit. So if you're ready to buy now, now's the time to buy, and that's when it's good for me to get to somebody and discuss your qualifications and stuff. And get you prepared and get you to go out there. If I have a full file, I can issue pre-approvals very quickly. So when your competition is saying, "Oh, I like this place, I'll go talk to my mortgage guy," you're pulling out a pre-approval letter specific to what the offer you want to make is, and you're ahead of the game. And so that's a huge thing. And we've already talked about the challenges that you may or may not have, or how to tweak your situation. Mm-hmm. Getting me involved sooner rather than later is definitely a good idea.
So, Lance, do you think you'll go back to your office? Will you continue to work from home full time? Where do you foresee your work-life balance future?
We had a WebEx this morning with the company, and it looks like right now that at least until the end of the year is the projection that we're still working from home.
Okay.
So that's going to be like, I'm running into the office later this afternoon to pick up some personal items. I've been trying to do it, but the protests have been getting in the way. I'm hoping to get it done today. And Black Lives definitely matter. I don't care what anybody says. But they do clog up the streets, so I don't want to get caught in that. But I'm thinking today I can get in there and get out real quick and pick up my stuff. But it looks like I'll be working from home for quite a while. And my company is 7,000 people, and we're told that 95% of them are working from home.
Wow.
And we're still doing business like very seamlessly. So we're very tech heavy. Our CEO refers to us as a fintech company more than a mortgage company, but we're very big into technology, and everything's been working fairly smoothly, except for the fact that we're extremely handling a lot of business right now. And we had to figure out how to work from home and handle the business at the same time, but we've been doing really terrific.
I think those in real estate, we know how to pivot fast because the market's always changing. Every few weeks, you're looking at different price points in neighborhoods going up and down. And as individuals, we have to learn to pivot fast. And this pandemic was just another wrench in that. So, Lance, tell me a little bit about Loan Depot. You're able to get people mortgages from all different banks. Why is that beneficial to a buyer?
Well, Loan Depot happens to be the fifth largest mortgage lender in the country. We're the second largest privately held mortgage lender in the country. So we have our own programs, Loan Depot programs, and then we also have access to programs through Chase, through Wells, through Citi, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, that's a part of Bank of America. So we have a lot of sources that we can get the best opportunity for the client. Usually 85% of the time, the best opportunity is with my Loan Depot products. We also have relationships with about 40 credit unions and other smaller banks across the country that have niche lending programs that we can broker to. So by coming to me, I'm able to see what's best for you, what you best qualify for, what gives you the best results, and I have access to it. Whereas the other lenders kind of tend to have their own programs and that's it. And they don't tend to have loan officers that say, well, you know what, we can't handle this for you, but you can go there instead. They don't tend to do that. Their speeches can't be done. And that's it. End of story.
Right.
Whereas I know, like, listen, I mean, I closed a client in Brooklyn just beginning of April, and the best program for them was a Wells Fargo program. And I closed it. Everything was Loan Depot, and it just transitioned over to Wells Fargo last month.
That's awesome.
And so that's something that, we were looking for the really, really best rate, and that was where it was, and they qualified. Wells Fargo guidelines are a little bit, I don't want to say stiff, but stringent.
They're more strict than others.
I'm trying to be diplomatic. I hope that's okay.
Of course, that's the point. So, Lance, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today. We've known each other for many years. We've done a lot of business together and look forward to more in the future.
Me too.
And Lance Tarhan with Loan Depot, 27 years of experience. If you have any questions regarding your credit, pre-approvals, pre-qualifications, should you buy somewhere, Lance and I can be glad to help you. I've been in the business for years, and with the Corcoran Group, we can service you anywhere in the country. Lance, thank you so much, and happy Friday, happy weekend. This will be on my Instagram Live, moving to stories, and we'll have it featured in IGTV as well. And Lance, thank you so much. I'll include his contact information in the link so you can contact him directly.
Thank you, Jess, and have a great weekend, everybody.
To you. Thanks, guys, for joining. Happy weekend.
Bye-bye.